Hey again, crew. Welcome to part 2 of today's session, so week 1, part 2. Today, I'm going to be focusing on researching, referencing plagiarism and bibliographies. I'm hoping to move through it quickly, but the PowerPoints that I put together with all the links will be available for you. So I'll send all that information out, okay? So let me just get the PowerPoint ready on the screen and we'll start moving through it. All right, so researching and referencing, like I said, part 2 of week 1's class. In a nutshell, this is what we're going to be covering. So what, why, where, and how of researching. Reputable sources, so what is a reputable or credible source? And the way we know whether it's credible or reputable, which is the same thing. Trustworthy, I guess, is another way to say it, is looking for the authenticity, the bias, and the date of publication. All right, so we'll look at an example of how to find that information. What is plagiarism and how do we prevent ourselves from plagiarizing? And then writing a reference and putting your references in a bibliography. Now, a bibliography is an opportunity to show where you're gathering your information from, and by providing that, you're showing that you're using reputable sources. And I'll show you a bit of a cheap way of putting a reference together. And yeah, hopefully that helps. But just know I'll go into more detail when we get to it, but yeah, really it's just showing me that you have used a broad range of sources in gathering your information and that the sources you're using are trustworthy and the information is accurate. Okay. So the what of researching. It's really important that before you start researching something, you're really clear on what it is you're researching. So what is it that you're trying to find out? And knowing that is going to help you stay on topic and not end up down one of those rabbit holes that are easy to end up on when you're surfing the net for, you know, lots and lots of time. We can always end up in weird and wonderful places, but in order to stay on track, we need to be clear about what it is we're trying to find information on. So sometimes you're going to be given a specific thing to find information on, like task 1 with the specific questions. But when it comes to your presentations down the track, you're going to have a bit more freedom in terms of choosing the what. What am I researching and what direction do I want to move with that information? So sometimes it can be really great to start with an idea around a topic. So going in, I want to specifically focus on endangered species of the area, or yeah, let's focus on that for a second. And through your research, you're going to gather a broad range of information. From that, you might then choose 1 or 2 things to focus on. So we want a specific topic, which then can open up a lot of avenues to go down. And then we want to be specific about which avenue we're choosing to go down. So we're starting narrow, broadening it, and then going quite narrow again. When in our group sessions or our one-on-one sessions, when we're talking about those assessment tasks in more detail, and when we're talking about choosing topics and making decisions on that, one thing that I think is really important is to try and focus on things that interest you. Because when you're talking about something that actually interests you, you're more passionate about it, you get more enjoyment out of researching it, and you get more enjoyment and you've got more confidence when presenting. So yeah, really keep that in mind. You might think, oh, none of these topics interest me. I'm not really interested in natural places or in the environment. But I guess when we think about studying outdoor recreation, we're going to be doing those activities in those places. So the more we know about those places, the better we are connected to that place. So that is, in a nutshell, what the purpose of our guiding is, to get to know the places that we get to visit and do all our really fun activities in. So trying to be specific about what it is we're researching and trying to stay on topic. I think that sometimes it can be really beneficial if you're already interested in something and you're already knowledgeable about something, to stick with it and you know, use that as an advantage to then broaden your knowledge on that specific topic. But sometimes we want to keep in mind that that can be a hindrance, and it can limit how broad we go with our with opening the opportunity to learn more. So please keep that in mind. You know, this is really an opportunity to broaden your knowledge on topics rather than just stick to what you already know. Yeah, because I guess the opportunity to learn is here right in front of us. All right, why? Why is another good question to ask when we're researching. So why are we gathering the information? What is it going to be used for? If we're gathering information to answer questions, well, like I said, it's a specific question that we're trying to answer. So we want to gather information to answer that question. Whereas if we're gathering information to create a presentation, then yeah, I guess the breadth of the information that we're gathering and the types of information we're gathering is going to change. So for a presentation, we might gather a range of different styles of information, so including pictures and video clips and audio, books. And I mean, books, we're talking children's books as well as encyclopedia style books, and obviously information that we find on websites and things like that. I would strongly suggest contacting your local library. A lot of libraries are and do offer ebooks, so you don't actually have to go into libraries, but you can still borrow books and gather information from libraries, as well as just the, you know, not just using the internet, but using a range of sources as well. Yeah, and gathering your information is going to be easier if you know what you're gathering the information for and how you're going to use it. Sometimes I will gather pictures as I go, and you know, type in Google Images the topic and just click on images. And sometimes that can actually help find websites you may not have found through just going for the web option in Google. So Google is a really great place to start, and I'll touch on that shortly. But yeah, I guess understanding the why you're gathering it, what you're going to be using that information for, will also help you choose where you're gathering information from and what sources you're going to use. So a range of places where we can actually find information, and this is just a list of some of the places. Obviously, there's a lot more places than just these of where we can find information. But a few that, like I just previously mentioned, libraries online and getting our hands on ebooks and journals and yeah, and resources through our libraries. The other, I think, you know, the other ones that you're predominantly going to use in this current situation would be the internet, ebooks, and online journals. Magazine and newspapers can be found online as well, but online libraries, YouTube is a great resource as well. Talking to people, so even making phone calls to different experts, Parks Victoria, or other experts in the field that you're touching on. And then film and media podcasts can be good as well. Information centres, it's unlikely that you're going to be visiting those, but they are just another way to gather information. Okay. So where do we start with gathering information? Search engines are an amazing way to start. These are just some graphics of a few. Google is my go-to. I think it's the most used search engine in the world. However, Ecosia, I'm not exactly sure how to say it, is a green search engine. So for every search, they plant a certain amount of trees. Yeah, so it's a way to offset emissions. Bing is another option, Yahoo, but yeah, like I said, my go-to is Google. I think it's got the most amount of information, or accurate, when I search something in. Bing I haven't always been overly lucky with. And one thing to be aware of is Wikipedia. So Wikipedia, no matter what you type in, you're probably going to have a Wikipedia option pop up in your top 3 choices in terms of links that pop up in Google or one of the other search engines. But one thing to keep in mind is that although sometimes you can find some accurate information in Wikipedia, anyone can write a wiki page, and it's actually hard to reference and find how credible that information is. So you might have a look at Wikipedia and gather some information, but it's really important that you're then backing those findings up with other sources. So you may verify some of the information or facts that you found through other sources, or you might just avoid clicking on Wikipedia pages altogether and just go with more reputable sources. But what is a reputable source? And I'm going to go into that shortly. I definitely find Wikipedia pages useful. I do, especially to get some broad information on a specific topic, and usually there's a whole bunch of subheadings in information within that topic. But like I said, it's just important that you verify that information. All right, so continuing on with our how, okay, it's really important that for all your assessment tasks that you're submitting your references. So where are you gathering your information from? So I strongly suggest that you keep your web pages open so you can come back to them and note them down as you go. Okay, so noting, because you may open a whole bunch of web pages and you may read information from some different pages, but then as you're finding better web pages or better information, or you've moved down a different rabbit hole or avenue of topic, you may then discard some of those web pages and not use the information that you found from them. But it's important that you create some sort of system of keeping tabs on where you're getting your information from. So always make sure you've got a notebook and pen handy, or a Word doc open so you can make notes. Highlight the URL, paste it in the web page, and write down a bit of information of what you've used that site for, or what was handy on that page. And yeah, hopefully that will help then bring your bibliography to life down the track. It's really important that you revisit your purpose of searching. Like I said, you can end up down a few rabbit holes. You can end up with a whole heap of tabs open on your computer and sort of lose track. So it's really important that you keep coming back to your purpose of searching. So have a bit of a plan. Create some goals for your searches, or some specific questions that you want to have answered or achieved by the end of your search session. Okay, so I'm sure you've all spent a lot of time on the internet, and you know how to use search engines, and you know how to use YouTube, and you're well versed in all of that stuff. But researching and actually keeping tabs on that stuff is a different ballgame. And when we're having to keep track of our references, yeah, it can get a bit messy if we're closing our tabs and not keeping track, because then you have to come back to it later. Okay, what is reputable or credible. So what makes a source either of these? Okay, so in a nutshell, for something to be credible, it's of high quality, it's reliable, and it's believable. So we want a trusted source. We want to be getting our information from experts and from, depending on what the topic is, scientific, non-biased, and accurate information. Also, we know that, the internet, anyone can make a web page, and people who have web pages tend to update them sometimes quite regularly. So it's also important that we're gathering information that is up to date. So usually if it is a trusting, credible or reputable source, then you will be able to find who the author of the information is and when that information was published, okay? And that information will be part of your bibliography, okay? The other thing, like I mentioned on the previous slide, is you want to be able to verify the information. So sometimes untrustworthy or maybe not as accurate websites providing less accurate information can look quite professional, but it's important that we're finding that information and then we're verifying it by backing that up with further information. So that's why we don't just use a wiki page or we just forget wiki pages altogether. And we might go to the Parks Vic web page for your specific region. And then through that, sometimes parks have different links, but then you might go to even the local council web page or recreation groups in the area. You might find that there's a Friends of the Gippsland Lakes group, and they may have some specific information. Yeah, so that's just one example. Okay, so there's usually groups that that are friends of a region, and there's also Tourism Victoria web pages. So the Tourism Victoria web page is going to be different to the Parks Victoria web page, and yeah, so there's a broad range of websites that are focused on getting people to visit those places that you're researching. However, their approach will be different, the information that they provide will be different, and yeah, it's a great way to broaden your depth of knowledge on the specific location and to work out what information that you gather is useful for what assignments or what purpose. So this is an example of a web page, and when we're talking about credible or reputable sources, we talk about, is it trustworthy? What is the motive? So when we talk about bias or motive, we're talking about, what are they trying to get out of of delivering this information? So are they trying to persuade people to believe what they're saying for some ulterior motive, or are they providing this information for the greater good, for the general knowledge, or like in this case, for the purpose of health? So yeah, we want to question the information that we're reading. In the case of your particular researching, you're not necessarily going to find so much information that's going to have particular biases, but you may, if you're touching on things like endangered species or environmental impacts to areas, because there's usually a lot of conflict around those topics. So when we talk about environmental impact, there's usually some sort of industry or human impact to an area. So whether that is from the logging industry, from the mining industry, from invasive species, from population growth and urban sprawl, it can be a whole range of reasons why the environment is being impacted. But usually you have your greenies group, so those who really are pushing to protect those natural areas or those species, animals, plants, and then you have those who may be, I guess, wanting to exploit those areas. So usually conflicting views, and that's where you may come across information that may be biased. So, you know, the logging group may say, well, actually, yeah, there aren't any endangered species in the logging coop that we're working in, or if we come across koalas, we relocate them. And so it's just important that you're questioning the information that you're reading and then backing that up with further research. And then the next thing we see down there on that is recently updated. So that's where we're looking for the publication date or when it was updated. So we want to know that the information that we're finding is recent, because obviously things change all the time. Scientific research is forever ongoing and being updated and changes. So yeah, it's important that we're gathering information that is up to date. Obviously, if we're looking at something historical or creating some sort of timeline of events, then we might be interested in finding some old records, some old information, yeah, to then create that timeline of events. So the date does matter, whether it's old or new. And then some sites will also create their own citations. So they're providing where they've gathered their information from. So that also is a sign of a reputable source. Now, again, you're not always going to have citations included, but yeah, the author of the page or the organization that the page belongs to may be a reputable source. So a government page like Parks Victoria, council pages, they're examples of what would be reputable sources. So yeah, hopefully that helps to explain what is reputable, or an example of that. All right, plagiarism. So plagiarism essentially is stealing someone else's work and passing it off as your own. So we want to avoid that at all costs. And it's always easy to do when you are specifically researching and gathering information and presenting on those topics that you've researched. So that is where our bibliographies come in. But also, yeah, we want to make sure that if we're quoting what we've read or what someone has said, that we're making it clear that it's a quote using quotation marks, or if it's a piece of audio, writing who that audio belongs to, and yeah, things like that. So it's okay to use other people's information, but you need to present it as your own information, citing other people along the way, okay? So I've actually embedded a YouTube clip in here that we can watch, which talks about plagiarism.
Whether you're in the academic, creative, or professional world, plagiarism is all too common. But what is it exactly? According to the Oxford Dictionary, plagiarism is the practice of taking someone else's work or ideas and passing them off as one's own. Let's say you're writing something for the company newsletter, and you find a great article online that's full of useful information. So you take several parts of that article, change a few words around, and submit it without giving credit to the original author. That's plagiarism, and it can lead to serious consequences. In school, taking credit for someone else's work could mean you fail an assignment or class, or face disciplinary action. In the workplace, it could result in damage to your reputation, legal repercussions, or even losing your job. Even if you accidentally do it, such as forgetting to cite a source or misquoting someone, it can quickly get you in trouble. Luckily, we know a few strategies that'll help you avoid plagiarism. First, always cite your sources. Showing where you found your information gives credit to the original authors and helps reinforce the legitimacy of your content. If you're quoting from a source, always quote the source's exact words. When inserting one into your work, place quotation marks around it, and be sure to include the author's name in the same sentence. When you want to discuss information from a source without quoting it directly, it's important you rewrite that information in your own words. Along with citing the source, use different language and sentence structures, and explore the source's ideas from your own perspective. This strategy can help you say something new, original, and plagiarism-free. Plagiarism can seem like an easy shortcut that'll save you time and effort, but it will only hurt you in the long run. Be clear and upfront about where you get your information, and you'll be free to create original content you can be proud of.
Okay, so hopefully that YouTube clip cleared up a little bit about what plagiarism is and how to prevent it for your assessments. But again, any questions, note them down, and we can talk about that in our sessions. So just a little bit on referencing and citing your sources. Now, there's lots of different ways to go about doing this. And Chisholm specifically use APA 5th edition. So you'll see that written down here. And this document goes into a bit of detail, and this is actually provided by Chisholm. So fingers crossed this opens up. Here we go. Study skills support, referencing and bibliographies. So clicking over here, and it goes into a great amount of detail around referencing, bibliographies. Yeah, so you've got access to that. But what I want to show you is actually really cool. So I thought what I would do is, using the YouTube clip that we just watched, which is this one here, okay, I have then opened up this web page, which in the slideshow is this link down here. So cite this for me, cite with a C as in citation. So this web page actually is a little bit of a cheat sheet. So we're gonna have a go together. All right. So I'm gonna start. So just citethistforme.com. And as this page loads, we'll have a few options. So like I said, we're using APA, all right? So that's listed just here. It's quite a common referencing type. So we click on APA, and then we want to mention the type of source. So it might be a website, it might be a journal, it might be a book, but ours is, although YouTube is a website, it's specifically a video, an online video. Okay, so that's what I'm going to use, this drop down one here, but also having a look at all the different types of sources where you may collect information from. Okay, so it's not limited to what I've put into the slideshow. There's a whole heap more. Okay, so DVD, video or film, we've got dictionary entry, court case, broadcast, book, blog, email, interview, legislation magazine. Anyway, so just to show you some. So we're using an online image or video, okay? And then what's gonna come up next is a whole bunch of boxes that we can fill in. So we don't have a specific person's name for this one, okay? Because if we click back, I can see that this was created by gcflearnfree.org. Okay, so I'm going to try and remember that. I could probably just highlight it and then go back to cite this for me. And if I put this down here, I've got that. And then the year published. All right, so again, I'm going to go back. So September 14, my dad's birthday, 2018. Okay, so it's just asking for the year. So that makes it nice and easy. 2018. Okay, format, this is a video. and the title and description, avoiding plagiarism. So again, I'm just going to highlight that and put that in. URL. So I can just click up here, Control C to copy, click back, and then Control V. I don't know if it's different on Mac, so I'm just using a PC, but that's the URL. And then the access date. So I viewed it today, which is actually the 17th of April 2020. Okay, so that's all the information that I need to provide. And then it's actually created, so yeah, so if I was actually going to put this, attach this onto my PowerPoint slide to say where I got it from, then that is what I would provide, the in text. Or if you're on your pamphlet, you may provide a picture and cite where you got it from. That is where you would use that. But the one for your bibliography is the one down here. Okay, so you just click it, copy it, Control C again. And then I can put that into a bibliography down the track. So, or now, if I'm doing my research and creating my bibliography as I go, I may do it that way. Okay, so that is a little bit of a cheat sheet on how to cite your references. Okay, so your bibliography is a separate document, or maybe within the same Word document, or you may provide an additional slide or two with your bibliography, but it comes at the end of your assessment. So your bibliography will look something like this. Now, usually it's in alphabetical order, but I'm not too worried about alphabetical order. What I would like is for you to have your subheadings. So if it's a book, then you can have books and then have all your citations from the books that you used, websites, videos. Yeah, so if you can do it that way, that would be fantastic. But yeah, that's a little bit about bibliographies, okay? And yeah, there's a little bit of info there as well, okay? So hopefully that helps for your researching. Any questions, please send them my way. If not, then I look forward to seeing you in our drop-in session where we will talk about your first couple of assessment tasks. All right, look after yourselves and I will talk to you soon.